Greetings, welcome in. We're so glad you're joining us today for our Housing Internship Program Profile Creation and Tools for Success webinar. My name is Spencer Giese, he, series pronouns. I'm an educational program manager at ACUHO-I, and I have the esteemed privilege of overseeing the internship program. But truly, the people who make it so great are volunteer leaders who work on this program each year to make sure it's a great experience for both hosts and interns. And without further ado, I'll pass it over to the folks you'll be hearing from on our session today.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Maldonado. My pronouns are he, him, his. I currently serve as the Housing Internship Program Chair, and I also serve as a hall director for the University of Rhode Island.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aspen Shackelford. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the Housing Internship Program, and outside of that, I am a community director at the University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Taylor George, and I currently serve as a residence coordinator over at Florida State University, Golden Knolls, and I'm also a part of the Housing Program Committee.
Outstanding. And thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear who you are and where you're joining us from. So if you'd feel so obliged to say hi in the chat. And if you're watching this recording, we're really glad that you're tuning into this recording to learn more about the program as well. David, why are we here?
Yeah, so today we are here to talk about how to create a wonderful candidate profile and make sure that you're a standout candidate for our host institutions. We're also going to walk through building that profile as well as looking over the portal. And then we also have a moment where we're going to share some tools and strategies so that you can stay organized throughout the process.
Outstanding. Uh, So first thing I'll do, I'm going to pull up our actual housing internship program portal. Hopefully you're already in here. You've already seen this, but if not, we'll give you a preview. And I will also make sure that I put the directions on how to access the portal and get to be a part of the program in the chat. So if you've not already entered the program, we have a three-step process in order to uh, join the housing internship program. I'm going to share that in the chat just in case you haven't already seen those directions. And also, I love all the people saying hello in the chat from where they're at. So those are the steps to join the housing internship program. And then could you all clarify for me, are you seeing a web page right now that great, I love it. All right, so this is the housing internship portal. As you log in to internship.akuo-i.org, once you log in, you'll have a landing page similar to this. Now I've got a little bit more access than y'all, no worries. So as you are coming in here as a candidate, you'll log in and you'll have a candidate tab here. Oops, and this is where you would create your profile. So as you go to your profile, you have the opportunity to create a candidate statement. This is a short blurb that each candidate has, just a few sentences to say a little bit about yourself. This is your elevator speech. Then your contact information should auto-populate because you have an ACUHO-I profile connected to it. You can add some additional information about yourself. Important things that you'll want to be thinking about are your preferred dates of internship. So these are great questions to be already asking your employment. That if you've got a position that you're in right now that you're going to be also in again in the fall of 2026, great opportunity to find out when you need to be back for that. Um, just remember your profile is editable at all times. You can always go back and edit your profile. So if you made a typo or you want to change these dates, you'll just look for the pencil icon to click on to edit your profile and make those changes. And also remember, your profile isn't visible to host sites until January. So if you are working on it, you can save it, you can come back, add to it these next few weeks. We have a pretty large period of time for you to build your profile, so it's not supposed to be stressful. You've got the time to make it what you want. So again, it's important to identify when are the dates that you could do an internship. Your internship doesn't have to last this whole length of time, but knowing the earliest you could start and the latest you could go are really important. Some Some information about your profile preferences. Employers, host sites will be able to sort through these. And then you can also identify if there's specific areas that you really want to make sure that you have an internship in. Some folks click all, others are really looking for a specific type of internship for this summer in order to build on their resume and build on their experiences. And then at the very end, you'll have an opportunity to upload a resume. And that way you don't have to send a resume to every single internship you apply for. You could just have one on your profile. So make sure that's a great resume with all your information on it. And that's what it'll look like to input your candidate information on our system. Later on, quick preview, you'll be able to see internships. So you won't be able to do this until January, but you'll be able to go in and browse through internships, and you'll see they have position highlights themselves. You'll be able to favorite. Eventually, you'll be able to send messages. And then when you click on the arrow, you'll be able to expand that, and you'll be looking for the supply button when you're applying for internships. This is far in the future. We'll have another webinar to talk about that, but just so you know. Additionally, host sites will be able to look at candidates in January, and you'll see, let's see if anyone's got this filled out for us. Again, you'll see some of these folks are unpublished because they're not ready to be visible yet, but that's what a candidate statement will look like. Kind of a nice paragraph talking about themselves. This is exactly what a host site will see on the surface level before they click and look at your profile some more. So just know that that is out there as an opportunity for you to take a look at. So let's go back to the rest of our slideshow. Continue on in our presentation. Any questions about the portal while we're here? Okay. Let's talk about building that standout profile.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you all about how to build and craft your profile and some things that you should consider when you're doing that. As you saw, when Spencer showed it to you all, there's a lot of things that you can share in your profile, starting with your personal information. And so you want to make sure that the information that's going on your profile is clean, neat, consistent with one, who you are as a person, but also with what you're looking for from this experience. You know, you want the boxes that you're checking off to really reflect the type of experience you want to get. You don't want to check every box and that not be what you truly are interested in. And then you go into interviews and it could be a little awkward if you're applying for a job you're not really interested in. So you want to make sure that what you're putting on your profile reflects you well and accurately. In addition, you get to upload a photo of yourself. So you want to make sure that's a nice photo of you. I'm always a fan of a good selfie, but not everyone needs to see my selfies. And so you want to make sure you're choosing a good professional photo that reflects you well, in addition to the content. And then the statement. The statement is key. As Spencer mentioned, host institutions will see your statement, and it's really the first chance that they have to learn about you. And so even though that's a pretty short bit of text, you want to make sure that you're really highlighting yourself and selling yourself because that is your elevator pitch before you might have the opportunity to share more in an interview. And so you really want to highlight your core values, what's important to you as a person, as an individual who's interested in student affairs. Share that. And you don't have to explicitly say, you know, I value communication or I value honesty, but let that shine through in what you're sharing so that institutions know the type of person that you are and a little bit about who you are. Also, your experience, of course, that's also important. But also, that's your chance to share what you're looking for from the internship experience so that host institutions can get a good sense of will this opportunity be the right fit for you in terms of what you're looking for? Because while yes, they want to hire people, host institutions also want to make sure that interns are getting a strong experience and getting the development that they're hoping to get from these opportunities. So it's a mutual process. So this is your first opportunity to really highlight some of that. In terms of your experiences and skills, that's also a big piece, making sure that's clear. So you want to make sure that you are sharing those in detail, in as much detail as you can. You want to make sure that it's clear what your experience was, so where you worked, what job you were doing when you worked there, and making sure that it is really detailed as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about this when I go into resume stuff, but you want to make sure that the people reading this have a good sense of what you did and what you're capable of. Next is translating leaderships into internship ready skills. So you may have some experiences that might not be quote unquote professional. They may be more volunteer opportunities or just opportunities that you've experienced along the way in your life. But that doesn't mean they're not important. And so you want to make sure that you are painting a picture that you have the skills that are transferable to come into these internships. It doesn't mean that you may have exact experiences, but just experiences that would lend well to show that you are capable of the job that you are hoping to be a successful candidate for. And then next, selecting the right competencies to showcase. So thinking about kind of, are you skilled in working with different software? Are you skilled with working with people, human resources, different things? In the many, many things, competencies within the realm of student affairs and housing. And so, really thinking about what are the competencies that you feel adequate in based on those transferable skills and really showcase them, and really paint the picture, I always say, or be the author of your own story. And so, next slide, please, Spencer. So with that, you all will also be submitting some supporting documents. So you saw when Spencer was in the database or in the portal, you could see you could upload your resume. Um, Someone gave me some really good advice, a colleague one time, that when you are part of an interview process or part of a job search process, you are really just having the opportunity to tell your story to other people. And so your resume, your cover letter, interviews, that's all working together to tell the story of who you are. And so that starts with your resume. And so you want to be as detailed as possible. You want to use verbs to show what you've done. You want to quantify your accomplishments, be detailed in terms of number of people you were working with or number of buildings you oversaw. Or types of software you've used and specific experiences that really will lend well to sharing that with people because your resume, they still don't have a lot of information about you. So at this point, they have your resume, they have your candidate statement. So being as detailed as possible on your resume can really go a long way. As well as formatting, I always recommend getting a second set of eyes on things because you look at your resume a lot, most likely, and it makes sense to you because you know, you understand the jobs you've done, the work that you've done. But having another set of eyes can sometimes be helpful to get clarification on what can be formatted differently so it's more clear, or just even grammatically. A small edit here or there can make something so much easier to understand. So definitely talk to someone you trust to get a second set of eyes if you're able to, because that can really be helpful as well. Your cover letter, that's also an opportunity to provide more insight as to who you are as a person. But the key with this is making sure that you're personalizing those and tailoring those to the internship that you are applying for. Make sure that you have the right school listed and the right job listed. I know it can be very easy to have um, like a template, which is totally fine because it can definitely help with the process and help make things more efficient. But make sure you're proofreading those and make sure that you are tailoring it in a way that really paints you in a good way and shares who you are as it relates to the job that you are applying to. And that's the same with all of your materials. You want your materials to really to be tailored towards the internship that you're applying for, as well as to, again, make sure that you're telling your story in a way that directly relates to the role so that they can get a picture of how you would do in that particular role and in that experience.
All right, so now we're going to switch over to some tools for organization. So I have linked on this spreadsheet a Google Sheet that I've used personally as an ACUHO-I intern to help track all of the intern spots that I've applied to. And it's really helped me kind of keep my mind afloat as I was going through the process because not only are you working like not full time, but you're doing your assistantship, your coursework, and all that right now. And you're going to also go into the interview season as well. So it's good to have something that is going to help keep you organized in what schools you're looking at, as well as when you get closer to offer day, navigating which positions stand out most to you. So my recommendation for you is to use this spreadsheet, use it however you want. You can change the tabs at the top to fit your needs. For me, one of my big things was how far away from home was it? I was looking at salary. I was also looking at, is it a public versus a private institution, as well as what skills could I gain from that institution? And then as you get closer again to offer day, you can look at what you've put on that spreadsheet and be like, you know what? Like this school that I put on the fifth cell row is okay to me, but it's not what I'm looking for per se, or I have others that are above it. So then you can start like shifting your sheet around to kind of have that ranking order because it is really hard, obviously, when you get to that offer day and you're like, what do I do if these are my top three schools and my third school calls? And I'm really excited for my first two. So, it's kind of that waiting game for the 24 hours, as well as making sure that you're willing to say yes to the right offer. And then Spencer also linked it into the chat so you can also save a copy for yourself. Again, I used it for my search. I also use it for my job search as well because honestly, when you get to that point in your career, like you're going to be looking at other institutions and other jobs. So it's important to also think about like how do you want to manage that process. I also recommend like if you're gonna do a Google Sheets, maybe also creating Google folders per job posting so that if you're doing a cover letter for each one, you can have those sorted as well. Because again, you don't want to send the wrong cover letter to the wrong position. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, David. So, I wanted to talk to you guys about just best practices for success when navigating this process. So, the first thing you want to do is stay proactive. So, making sure you're applying early and you are keeping up to date with your profile. So, definitely making sure you have these dates on your calendar so you are aware of everything that's going on. Because you're going to be looking at a lot of different schools and things like that. And you want to just make sure you're not missing any deadlines. So, making sure you're staying proactive with this process. You additionally want to tailor your applications to the internship site and position. So making sure, like Aspen mentioned, you might have template for certain things, which is great, but you want to make sure that you're keeping all of your things in line per each position. And you want to just make sure that all those things are well, because you don't want to be in that situation where you might be applying for a position and then you might have put another school in there. That's a little awkward. So try to avoid that. And then you want to stay open to geographic variety. So sometimes it's okay for you to know, like, hey, I want to go to this state and I'm only looking at jobs in that state. And that's something that you're comfortable with and you are okay with, that's fine. But we encourage you to be open to going to different areas, just so you can get that different experience and be at different school sizes, be in different environments and cultures. I think it's just good for you to grow in different places and things like that. And then you want to communicate professionally through the portal. So making sure that any communication that you're sending out is in a professional manner. Maybe stay away from using like different like slang words or different internet TikTok language and things like that. That's really in. You want to make sure you are presenting yourself at the best of all times when you're navigating through our portal. And then the last thing, you want to make sure you are preparing for interviews. So you want to make sure if that's whether that's doing mock interviews with like your mentors, or maybe you have a career center on your campus that you can go in, give them the certain jobs that you're applying for so you can practice some of those questions. You want to do some research in the institution. So you want to make sure that you are reviewing that job application. You can kind of like prep yourself. And then anything else that you feel can help you best prepare for the interviews for our process, make sure you're doing that. So meeting with your mentors, looking at the job application, doing some mock interviews, doing all those things to just set yourself up for success while navigating through our process.
All right, so now we're gonna kind of open it up to a little Q&A. So feel free to ask us questions either out loud or in the chat, and we will respond to those right now.
I can go first. Thank y'all so much for this presentation. I really enjoyed this. My question for y'all is, I know you were mentioning like putting some things in your profile to make you stand out, like from your personal experiences as like an ACUHO-I intern or other programs like this. What were some of those things that y'all included in your profiles like to make you stand out?
That's a good question. I think because it's been so long since I've had to create a profile, um, the one thing I definitely included in mine was like any committee work I was involved in, because I think it showed good time management, being able to balance committee work, school work, assistantship work, as well as if you're doing practicums or internships, like listing those out as well, because a lot of times these internships are very project and task heavy. So it can show a little bit of how to balance tasks and prioritize as you go.
Along with committee work, I would say any type of leadership activity you've had, whether that is you've taken on a lead, you've done something as an interim because you had to step in for a colleague. Just think of what that looks like, and or what makes you a well-rounded human at this point in life. It is that double-edged sort of like you want to look like you've taken initiative, been involved, but also not that you're so involved that you have no spare time or you have no vision for what you're doing. So also just be yourself. I have a news flash for y'all. There are going to be more internships than there are internship candidates. That's just how it works each year. That's not a bad thing. That is just a thing. So, um, you're trying to find a great fit for you, truly. And fit might look like location. Fit might look like um, an experience outside of what you've been doing. It, I don't know. That's something you've got to determine on your own. But just know that there are going to be so many opportunities for you if you're just open to what might be out there. And to give you an example, we had 519 actual positions last year in internship. So we had 519 internships available, and we had just over 400 interns. So I'm going to do the math. That's the numbers are in your favor. So you can be a little picky, but you want to find the best fit for you. Just be yourself. The other thing that stands out is availability. It's one of the best abilities you can have, availability. So if you've only got 3 weeks to be an intern all summer, it's probably going to be really difficult to get a position. The more time you're able to identify that you truly have available to be an intern, the better your chances are of attaining an internship.
We got a question in the chat about the registration voucher and when they would expect to hear back.
I bet they're going to hear back in about 5 minutes. I know who's going to write that email. It's me. So thanks for putting that in the chat. Appreciate it. And if you did not just apply today, check your junk mail. But if you applied today, I'll be checking it at the end of the day.
Awesome. What other questions do we have?
Well, something I'll bring up as we wrap up, just know that on any ACUHO-I webpage that you visit, there's a purple chat box in the lower right-hand corner of that webpage. That purple chat box, that connects you to a new ACUHO-I staff member whose camera's not blurry. That connects you directly to a real person at ACUHO-I to solve your problems, answer questions, etc. So feel free to reach out. We'll always be in contact. We'll always be able to be in contact with you in the process. At this time, we'll end our recording for today. And if you're watching this recording, we look forward to connecting with you. If you're on our call today, thanks so much for being a part of it.